Hi, my name is Teresa Presley, and I'm going to be doing a 3-year data overview for Etowah High School. This is intended for administrators and teachers, Kennesaw State University fall semester, November 2015. The purpose of this data overview is to start a discussion about data. We want to review the end of course test, the EOC or the milestones, and identify strengths and weaknesses. We want to create an action plan. We're going to be looking at the demographic data and the algebra data, the EOC or the milestones. The enrollment totals at Etowah High School, you can see over the past 3 years, have definitely went up. 2012-2013, there were 2,229 students, which increased to 2,367 students, which further increased to 2,440 students in 2014-15 school year. That's an increase of 211 students over the 3 years. The demographic data that you see here is the enrollment from all the way from 2012 to 2015. So there's 3 years that are laid out here. You can see that we're a predominantly white school, second highest Hispanic, and then the third highest would be African American, followed by multiracial and Asian. Here's the gender breakdown for Etowah High School. It's almost a 50-50 split, but there are a few more males than we have females. The free and reduced lunch in percentage has definitely increased over the past 3 years. You can see that it was 21.3%, which went up to 23%, which went up to 24.1%, which is not a very big increase, but it is an increase. So a little bit of a summary on what we just saw. The slight enrollment increased over the past 3 years. The number of African American students have increased the most, second to the white students at Etowah. The percentage of students on the free and reduced lunch has increased by 2.8%. All right, so the Georgia EOCT, which is the end of course test, and the Georgia Milestones test are 2 different tests that we're going to be looking at. The standards have changed over the past 3 years in the high school math. So it has had the EOCT at the beginning. The test has changed based on the standards for every year. So in 2012-2013, the course was called GPS, that's Georgia Performance Standards for Algebra, and they gave an EOCT. In 2013-2014, the course was called CCGPS, which is the Common Core Georgia Performance Standards Coordinate Algebra, and they gave an EOCT. And in 2014-2015, the course was called GSE Algebra 1, which is Georgia Standards of Excellence Algebra 1, and they gave a milestones test. 9th grade students meeting or exceeding the EOCT and algebra standards in 2012 to 2015. At Etowah, you can see the breakdown. In 2012-2013, we tested 538 students, and only 425 of them met or exceed the standard, which is 79% of our students which were meeting or exceeding. In 2013-2014, we tested 428 students, and only 227 met or exceed, which is a 53% of our students meeting or exceeding. And in 2014-2015, it went up a little bit. We tested 544 students, and only 315% of those, but that is only a 58% because of the large number of students that we tested. So in summary, on the last few slides that we saw, since there's a 3 years that did not have the consistent test, comparing the data is not really accurate to see student achievement because there are 3 totally different tests. It looks like there's a decline in the student achievement when you look at just what Etowah did. So comparing the results to the state and the district will be way more helpful. So when we look at the EOCT scores compared to the state and the district, the percentage of students that meet or exceed is definitely easy to see on this graph. You can see in 2012 and 2013, the school, which is green, is not as much as the district, which is the light orange, but it is definitely more than state, which is the darker burnt orange. And same thing in 2013-2014, the school didn't do as good as the district, but did way better than the state. 2014, 2015, we definitely did better. We had 58% who met or exceed. The district had 53%, so we were better than the district that year. And then the state had 34%. Okay, so what we just looked at each year at Etowah, the Cherokee County School District's achievement was higher than the state's, but the Etowah's was higher than the state's as well. So EHS is very close to this district percentage, and it actually exceeds the district percentage in 2014-2015. Fewer students achieved each year. However, the test went from an all multiple choice test, which was the EOCT that was given in 2012 and 2013, to some multiple choice and some free response on the milestone. That's the big difference between the EOCT and the milestones, is that the milestones actually has those depth of knowledge, increased harder questions when you do the free response. In 2012, 2013, 79% of our ninth grade students met or exceed the standards in algebra, compared to the 62.8% of the state. In the next year, 53% of our ninth grade students met or exceed the standards in algebra, compared to 40% of the state. And then in the last year, 2014-2015, 58% of our ninth grade students met or exceeded the standards in algebra, compared to the state's 34%. So on this chart, you can actually see the breakdown, the domain performance of the end of course assessment that we gave in 2015 in the spring. This was the Georgia Milestones for Coordinate Algebra. And you can see that it breaks it down into 3 different domains: algebra and functions, algebra connections to geometry, and then algebra connections to statistics and probability. You can see the breakdown of the school system at RESA and state. RESA is the Regional Educational Service Agency, so we don't tend to look at that one as much as we do the school system and state, but it's good to see how we place with them as well. You can see the number of students tested, and each domain has the 1, 2, or 3. Now, level 1 is for the remediated learner, meaning that those students need to be remediated, they need to learn it again. Number 2 is the monitor learning, which that means that they probably met it, but they still need a little bit more work. And area 3 is the accelerated learner. These are the students that really got it down, did really well, and they understand completely what they're talking about. And so when you look at this, you really want to be the lowest percentage in the area 1 and the highest percentage in area 3, because you want to have the lowest percentage of remediated learners and the highest percentage of accelerated learners. So you got to remember that when we're looking at the data from here on. Okay, so this is going to break it down into just domain by domain, and we're going to go through and see what it actually looks like. For algebra functions in that domain, the percentage of students in each mastery category at Etowah, you can see that we tested 544 students, and these are percentages below. We have more of our students that are in the monitor or accelerated category rather than the remediate. And when you look at the Cherokee County School District, the CCSD in the middle, you can see that they had a pretty good 50-50 split of remediate versus monitor and accelerate. And then the state had a lot more that needed remediation, but they had a small portion of the monitor and accelerated. So there again, we still need to remember that we want to have the smallest remediate and the largest accelerated, so which is what we have here. So when we look at the algebra connections to geometry category, you can see that our remediated learners gets even smaller and our accelerated learners got even bigger. So this is a really good graph here, what we're looking at compared to Etowah, the Cherokee County School District, and the state. You can see that the state still has that really large portion that needs remediation, is where the Cherokee County and Etowah don't have that much. Okay, in the area of algebra connections to statistics and probability, Etowah there again has done really well. We've got only 36% that need remediated, 24% that are accelerated, but we have a larger portion in the monitor area, so we need to work a little bit on our algebra connections to statistics and probability. There again, the state has that really large remediate section, which is not really a good thing. Okay, so what we just looked at is in this past year, 2014-2015, 39% of our ninth grade students are considered to be accelerated learners in the specific domain of algebra and functions, compared to the 19% of the state, which is 20% higher than the state's percentage. So that's really good. In 2014-15, 39% of our ninth grade students are considered to be accelerated learners in the specific domain of algebra connections to geometry, compared to the 17% of the state, and that's 22% higher. So we did a little bit better with the connections to geometry. In 2014-2015, 24% of our ninth grade students are considered to be accelerated learners in the specific domain of algebra connections to statistics and probability, compared to the 14% of the state, which is only 10% higher than the state, but there again, it's still higher, so I'm happy with it. Okay, some discussion questions and some things that we need to think about, the strengths and weaknesses that we have. Some strengths are that all 3 years, Etowah scored better than the state. So on average, Etowah has scored 17.73% more than the state percentage. And the percentages for the accelerated learners in every domain breakdown, not just one, not just two, but all 3 domain breakdowns, is definitely higher than the state percentage. Some weaknesses that we have is that over the 3 years, the achievement seems to be lower, so we need to try to fix that. EHS has tested the most students in 2014 and 15 school year, but that year we had a very low number of students who met or accelerated the standards. So a question I would give to you to discuss is, what is the reason for this drop in achievement, and how can we correct it for the next year to come? Thank you for listening.